What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Chris Abaca.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on? And Daniel Acevedo.
How's it going, guys?
What is up? So you guys did an amazing job in my absence. So great podcasting. I really enjoyed it, listening as a listener, right? As opposed to critiquing myself and all that other good stuff. So it's nice. I might take some more breaks. And it felt like for the first time, it felt like I had more, like, you guys are always on the team, but I do all the production and what have you. Like not having to host and produce. I was like, this kind of nice. Like if I could outsource most of this, where I just show up, mic's hot, I just say my thing and I roll out like Joe Rogan, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But please like, share, subscribe. Speaking of Joe Rogan, we are just about to hit 500 subs, so I'm pushing for 1,000 now. We want to hit 1,000 by the end of the year, because that gives us perks and things of that nature on YouTube to produce more content, and also to start getting paid from these ads they're putting on my stuff. Because we don't get any of that till you hit I think it's 3,000 or 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subs. You have to hit both within 365 days. Every 366 day, you lose that. So you have to keep it up. It's a rat race. So you can't rest on your laurels, basically. So I need you guys to subscribe, leave us content, feedback, rating, things of that nature, right? We have an outstanding podcast ranking, but we don't have a great listening score because nobody really leaves a critique, right? I take good and bad, mostly good though. Like if you leave me some, I'll take that.
Positivity, please.
Yeah, but I want to respond more to the comments and things of that nature. But yeah, you guys, as an audience, you guys are doing awesome. So now invite your friends and then have them be awesome as well. But with all that being said, so Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays Ask a CISSP. I just had two really, like all of them are great, but if you look at last week's newsletter, you'll see I had a impromptu one with Elizabeth Stevens from DBS Cyber when we talked about CrowdStrike as it was happening that day. I have one with Miguel Clark, friend of the podcast. He's been on before. Miguel is a cybersecurity evangelist and retired FBI supervisory special agent who is now a GRC evangelist for Armor. So check that one out. And I have a good one coming up, great one coming up in the next couple of weeks. So definitely tune in for that. And then Fridays, we talk about everything else. So movies, books, games, pop culture, all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's talk about today's article for our discussion. Scrolling. It is coming from Bleeping Computer. I've been tagging them a lot this week. Dark Angels ransomware receives record-breaking 75 million ransom, written by Lawrence Abrams. Abrams. This is why Shannon does the names. Because I'm terrible at it. But so a Fortune 50 company paid a record-breaking 75 million ransom payment to the Dark Angels ransomware gang, according to a report from Vscaler Threat Labs. So in early 2024, Threat Labs uncovered a victim who paid Dark Angels 75 million, higher than any publicly known amount. An achievement and I put that in quotations, my emphasis, that's bound to attract the interest of other attackers looking to replicate such success by adopting their key tactics, which we describe below. So definitely we'll dig into those, how that happened and what have you. But 75 million US dollars were paid out. So that's approximation, right? The highest ever, and this came from a Fortune 50 company. Their name not being disclosed. They'll probably come out in the next several weeks or what have you. But this is why we're screwed. So like, stop paying the ransom. I get it, to not, like, whomever it was, they felt as though we're going to lose way more than 75 million. This is pocket change to us. Just pay the ransom. However, if these these thieves decided to double dip and come back on you, do you have another 75 million to drop? Fortune 50 company, probably.
Maybe.
But what if they still exposed the data anyway?
Mm-hmm.
So that you would have spent upwards of 75 million, 150 million, so on and so forth, and you still didn't get the keys to the kingdom. You can't trust the bad guys. Like that always blows my mind. And for a company to pay out such a high amount of money, they're back on the list. Their friends are back on the list. And this company is not going to rest on their laurels. This company in quotation marks, right? The Dark Angels, this ransomware gang cabal is not going to rest on their laurels. They're going to try it again to someone else, because that is a humongous payday. That's like stealing the casino.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not just stealing a little bit of money. You're stealing the casino, and you got away with it, at least for now. But I give it to you, Chris. What are your thoughts?
I mean, first thing I thought was, I think Zscaler's Threat Labs with the Z at the end. Cool name. That's the first thing.
Right.
I'm like, okay, that's cool. I that's a great use of Z instead of S. But yeah, I do want to talk about like who is Dark Angels according to this article, right? But it's a ransomware organization launched in May 2022 and started attacking companies worldwide, right? So they've got they like most ransomware attackers, right? They breach an organization and then they move laterally, right, throughout the organization to try to get administrative access. But according to this article, what's interesting about them is that they don't like to spray and pray, right? And for companies, what they do is they target only a few high value companies in hopes of massive payouts. Right. And so in this case, they were extremely successful. But akin, harking back to our previous, podcast, right? They talk about certain Linux encryptors, and they do specifically call it VMware ESXi, where Dark Angels was able to encrypt the company's VMware ESXi servers, right? So I wonder how they got into that, right? So it's very interesting how all these all the things that we talk about, there's real world implications to the issues and vulnerabilities within these massive vendors, right? Really talk to your, like I keep saying this, talk to your security team, keep everybody involved, keep everybody on operational and security end involved in your business continuity and security, program management overall. But like they were saying, a huge company, rather they're targeting huge companies and they're extorting these specific victims if a leak or, ransom isn't paid. But they also operate a website called Dunghill Leaks that is used to, extort its victims. But they have a really interesting about us, and I quote, we are an international team of technical specialists conducting research in the field of information security. We are not interested in politics. That is why we do not cooperate with governments and law enforcement agencies. So that kind of makes sense from that standpoint when, if they do get a leak and they do get access with somebody, the company is going to work with the FBI or a big agency to try to negotiate these things. But, if they have it in their, methodology that they're not going to talk to these people, they're just going to want the money or, it's obviously a very dangerous and very, very advanced group. They say, in quote, their main goal is to make the world more secure, and security costs time and money. So it's kind of interesting. That's they think they're doing the right thing, right? Again,
they're good guys.
The thing is like they're in power. They're the Robin Hoods, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say Robin Hood.
They're Robin Hoods.
Yeah.
Right? They think that they're doing the right thing. But at the end of the day, they're getting a huge payout, right? So it's very, whatever means of whatever semblance of charity or altruism they have is really hypocritical from that standpoint when you're costing another organization so much money. But yeah, those are my quick thoughts. Daniel, what do you think?
Oh man, what a week for ESXi.
Yeah.
it's a rough one, man. They're just getting jabbed and hooked all over the place.
Oh yeah.
And Ryan, you're the producer. When you talk about the 75 million, you got to play something in the background, like big violin or some
violin playing.
Something about money. Horn. Because that is a payday. I'm in the wrong business. Not that I want to go to jail and become a hacker. 75 million. Like if that's a crew of like 3 or 4, they're getting a nice long vacation. They're taking your vacation times 12 because that's crazy money. I've never seen anything this much. This is almost like movie money. Like this is like the script for like Ocean's 16 or something, the cyber heist or something. Exactly. It's ridiculous. I don't know. So I did a kind of like a mini deep dive on ESXi, like how to like monitor or secure it. I only got one or two websites that I hit up and actually read. One of the websites, and I'll give it to Ryan so hopefully he can put it in the article. They did mention three things that I thought were kind of interesting that I hadn't been aware of because I never thought about locking down ESXi myself in this way. But there is something called lockdown mode. So in VMware environments, you can configure it to allow management only via the vCenter itself, which would prevent any direct access to the ESXi host itself. So that's kind of one way, enforce preventions within your ESXi environment for the bad guys not to get in and then be able to move laterally or do these kind of things. Another thing that they also mentioned, which I didn't know was a thing where you could do, is you can restrict the unsigned scripts from running. Disabling that will prevent unsigned scripts to execute on the ESX hosts to prevent malicious executables such as encryptors from running on the host themselves. Essentially, if this was enabled in that environment, then they wouldn't have been able to encrypt the environment. They would have done something else because they're already persisting in their infrastructure, but they wouldn't have been able to use this method of encrypting the ESXi to then encrypt everything else within that person's domain. And the last thing they talk about, which is not the most cost efficient, is to segregate host continuing sensitive systems. So pretty much segregate the domain controllers from the ESXis. So that way, if they encrypt one, then they don't get to encrypt your whole other environment that sits on it. But that's a little bit more costly. And there's still going to be some dependencies regardless networking wise, but it's a good recommendation. Now, the crazy thing about this though is that Dark Angels talks about that they use the encryptors and the solutions for this attack from a leaked source code from the book Ransomware. So I clicked that article, and essentially the person that created this ransomware attack, he disclosed all this, how to do it, because he got cancer or was getting cancer. So he just wanted to release how he would exploit and what he was doing to the interweb. And then Dark Angels saw that and grabbed what they were using for Windows and ESXi. It literally has 3 folders. It was like a network attached storage folder, Windows, and ESXi. And then within those had scripts and things to use for whatever you wanted to use nefariously. So the information's out there, but just as we talk about in these podcasts, it's really hard for cyber professionals or security department to know everything and be on the up and up and everything. So I don't know how big Babook ransomware is. I don't know how the players or the groups that created it are, in the eyes of CISA or these other government organizations or large players to then disclose and push this out to the field. But that's how they were able to use these exploits to then attack this time. But those are kind of just my off the cuff thoughts about this. ESXi is, getting punched out left and right this week. And just kind of maybe put some highlights for organizations to look if you're using that infrastructure to kind of think of other ways to secure it going forward in 2024.
No, I think all of those points are valid. So again, please share, subscribe. We're about to jump over the 500 mark, so we're trying to hit 1,000 by the end of the year on YouTube. Please continue to listen to us wherever you're listening to us, or watch us wherever you're watching us. But if you can just go to YouTube and throw us a sub, that'd be great. And then you can see our faces, our beautiful faces, right? Every week for at least 4 episodes, if not 5. Hit us up all the websites that go by our name: The Other Side of the Firewall, The Other Side of the FW, or Ask a CISSP, and all of our content, at least 4 episodes, if not 5 every week. So we generate a lot of stuff. It turns into articles. Those articles get rolled up into a newsletter we drop every Friday. I say that we just caught up. I was 3 weeks behind. So it's going forward every Friday where we roll everything up, plus additional content, right? So a little slice of life that we have behind the scenes type stuff in there as well. So check out all the above. We're generating a lot of stuff. But if I may, I want to vent a little bit about this article. Not only the portion about don't pay the ransomers, even if you have it. How I say you tell people not to pay it because it'll come back. This company probably had it. They probably this will probably go into their earnings report or whatever as like miscellaneous or like pocket change, right? Depending on what type of company it was, especially if it was one of those $1 trillion companies, 75 million is nothing.
0.00075 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But now you've enticed them to go after other companies. And you've enticed copycats, like people who want also to get a piece of this, right? Or to break the record. Like if this is the highest recorded or non-disclosed in this case, someone wants to be that 80 million, 85 million, 100 million. Because now they're off to the races. But no, what I really want to vent about is I'm pro certification. I'm pro education. I'm very pro experience. And on the bad guy side, that's all that's required is experience. How do we get these professionals? Because they're really good. They set themselves up to be like a company, right? They have a about us page where they list like their vision. They have a mission statement. They're obviously really good at what they do. Because so far they've gone away scot-free, right? Like Daniel said, this is some Ocean's, 13, 14 type stuff right here. And as I alluded to, they didn't just steal some money. They didn't steal an armored truck. They stole a casino and ran away with it. And so far they've gone away scot-free. How do you recruit this talent? You don't gatekeep them is what you don't do. Like to get a reasonable job in the current market, you have to have a bajillion certifications, a bunch of degrees and decades of experience. The people on the other side of this don't need any of that. They just need to be good at what they do. How do we, as a field, make that happen? Because like at the end of the day, like cybersecurity is going to be crazy critical to all infrastructure, whether it be critical infrastructure or anything above. Like we have to start to better protect our infrastructure in general. But we're not doctors. You don't have to go to med school for a decade to learn the craft, to continue to practice. That's not what's required to get your foot in the door, right? You can't call yourself a doctor or operate on anybody until you have the requisite experience. However, I don't believe that translates well to what we do. Like to be a great pen tester, to be a great GRC specialist, to be a great whomever, right? There's a million different paths you could take, the forensics, things of that nature in our field. You just have to have a passion and time, right? And that's all these guys have, passion and time. And now Lamborghinis.
And yachts.
And yachts is what they came out with. I just feel as though we're gatekeeping so hard that we're not getting this type of talent on our side. And if we are, it's not enough of it, obviously. Like we might have we might have mere copies of these people working for a different Fortune 50 company, but that's one company out of millions of companies. We need more people in our field, and we have to stop gatekeeping like that. I think that's what's really hurting us because they're going to the other side making crazy money.
Yeah, you got Warren Buffett out there talking about not to use cybersecurity insurance, making it even harder.
War on Warren Buffett.
No, but I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right, because the thing is, it's always been hard, regardless, for IT and cyber to break through to the business level, to kind of have a seat at the table to show what the importance is until it's dire. And then we're the most important thing. And then they plus up, and then a couple of years go by, nothing happens, and they forget. And then we get reduced again, and then something horrible happens. It's kind of, we're like stuck in this ridiculous cycle over these last 15 years for organizations. And you think it would change by now, but it hasn't. What you're talking about is completely right. The hiring, the HR is not correctly integrated into these departments, into these businesses. The thought of how critical this role or these positions or these departments are within the organization kind of still isn't where it needs to be in 2024, which is ridiculous to me, because the advancements in technology are going so fast with AI and with just the devices we can create, and the processes are getting smaller and computers getting faster, that the next 10 years, like, it's going to be ridiculous. It's going to kind of be like what we experienced when the internet and the computers reached scale of being in everybody's households, and how just the e-bubble and all this craziness happened. The next 10 years, we're going to live through things that we won't even understand what's going on while we're living them. And it's going to set the platform, the landscape for the next generation. And it's still really hard to get proper funding, proper department, enough people in these critical, cyber and IT places. So I don't know. I echo what you're saying. It's a little frustrating. It's going to be kind of crazy to see what happens if, big organizations, small organizations don't wake up and they kind of shift to be on our side instead of us kind of like having to like fight for what we need.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, unless it hits their bottom line to some extent, like a lot of the times, cybersecurity won't be in anybody's forefront or thoughts until it happens to them, right? Until something bad happens to them, and unfortunately, right, cybersecurity isn't like a billable thing where you can, you can make profits from it. It's an expense for an organization, right? But until it's not thought of as a, just an annoying expense, where it's actually an investment in our security, in our continuity of business, right? Until that mindset shifts, not where you're like bolting on. It's like bolt-on security, right? You see these in tests. You don't want to bolt on security. You want to, have security built in. I think that's the mindset that executives need to have as well. Is like, how do we build in security into our growth, right? And yeah, you can maximize shareholder value, right? But you need to be able to protect the shareholders, dividend payouts as well. You don't want to pay out those dividends to ransomware organizations. So think about it from that perspective as well. What's the risk? Document them, and then really take cybersecurity seriously. Again, like, share, subscribe, talk to us.
Right, absolutely. But yeah, so they spent $75 million. The payment was $75 million. How much did they have to spend on plussing up the team after that? For the search.
If they even did it, it's a Fortune 50 company. They might just be like, hey, this is kind of just like a sunk loss, and we just pay it, and then that's it. They might not even increase anything. That's kind of that's the frustrating part.
Crazy stuff. But I wish I was a movie producer. I would make a movie out of this one, because it's like the next Ocean's movie has to be cyber focused, because that's where all the money's going, right? It's not people.
You got George Clooney on an XL. Okay, let's see what controls it.
Just so that doesn't make any sense.
It's like, what?
Yeah. Very loud keyboards.
Brad Pitt calls it like, hey, I've got this GRC tool for you.
Right. So I don't know. I honestly, like, 2024 has been off the chain. It's only halfway done.
And don't even get me started about quantum computing, how that's gonna change the game with AI, and there's just gonna
it's the end of the world. It's just the end of the world. Don't worry.
This is the doom and gloom episode of the week.
Yeah. Skynet and
Friday will be happier.
Skynet's not going to be created by a company. It's going to be created by ransomware.
By Dark Angels.
Dark Angels.
Crazy stuff. But so more to come out of this. I'm sure the name of the company will be disclosed over time. Somebody's going to leak it. We'll find out who it was and how they handled it and all that other good stuff, right? But my fear is the next company. So, like, again, the stakes just up. You know what I mean? Like, okay, now the bar is 75 mil. How can we surpass that? So hopefully that does not happen anytime in the near future, but 2025 is right around the corner. So we'll see what that looks like. Definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. Again, Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays Ask a CISSP. Please go back and listen to the ones that, if you have missed any of them. But also, we have a few more scheduled for the future I'm really excited about. So check those out as they drop. And then Friday's everything else. So movies, books, games, all that good stuff. So tune in for that one as well, where we talk about all the non-cyber stuff we're currently doing. Hit up all the websites that go by our names, either the other side of the firewall, the other side of the FW, or Ask a CISSP. Hit me up personally. I'm at RY Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy. You can find me pretty much on every social media platform. And where can they find you, Chris?
You can find me on LinkedIn under Chris Abacon, last name spelled A Bacon.
And you, Daniel, where can they find you?
And LinkedIn under my name, Daniel Acevedo.